Yeah.
Hey everyone, today I am bringing you my review of the latest film from Todd Haynes, May December, starring Natalie Portman, Julianne Moore, and Charles Melton. And this follows Natalie Portman as actress Elizabeth Berry as she tries to investigate the lives of Gracie and Joe to play Gracie in an upcoming movie project, and kind of unveils a lot of the personal dynamics between Gracie and Joe, starting from their courtship, maybe you could say, when he was in 7th grade and she was a grown woman. Okay, so a lot has been said about this film, and I've been hearing great things about it ever since it premiered at Cannes back in May. And then I finally saw it in December, so I feel like that had to have been intentional, the way they did the release date, so props to you, Netflix, for that. And I have really enjoyed a lot of Todd Haynes' previous work. I loved Carol from 2015. I think that's the best film I've seen from him. But other than that, I've only seen Dark Waters, which was also very impressive. And this film, you know, I'd say believe the hype. I think that this is definitely another great film under Todd Haynes' belt. And I think a lot of it has to do with the topics being discussed in this film. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way Haynes directs this cast and Sammy Birch's very subtle and powerful script. It's one of those movies that you keep thinking about over and over again, long after the film has concluded. And I don't understand why many people are calling this film campy at all. The only thing I can really think of is the score by Marcello Zarvos, which was adapted from Michel Grand's score for The Go-Between. And it's used to accent these very ridiculous moments. Like, there's this one moment at the beginning of the film where Julianne Moore's Gracie says, "We ran out of hot dogs under those." Like, it's this really over-the-top, exaggerated moment that I just laughed out loud at. But other than that, like, there really isn't anything campy about this movie. I mean, this is downright disturbing, the stuff that's going on in this movie, especially the grooming that has taken place, obviously, between Gracie and Joe, played by Julianne Moore and Charles Melton. And as it comes to performances, I mean, the three leads are absolutely stellar. Natalie Portman turns in one of her best performances in recent memory as this actress who is trying to learn so much about Gracie and find the truth in her, so she'll be able to portray her properly. And the thing that's so great about this movie and her character in specific is the moral gray areas, which is something she brings up throughout the entire film, and you really understand why she's there, and it kind of brings up the idea of how far would one go to portray someone else in a film. Like, how willing are method actors to take it to the highest degree where they kind of blur their sense of self and imitation. I think that's a really brilliant idea brought up in this film. But Julianne Moore turns in one of the best performances she's had in years. My goodness, I really think that she should absolutely be nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I really hope she doesn't miss out, because she deserves it more than some other people, I think, who are, in the conversation. But really, to me, the true standout in this movie is Charles Melton. You've been hearing so much about this guy in this role in this film, and obviously he's been picking up awards left and right, and it's very understandable why that is, because what Charles Melton does here is very subtle work, and you don't really truly appreciate how brilliant it is until, yet again, after you sit back and think about the movie. But a couple scenes in particular really cause for some of the most heartbreaking moments in any film I've seen this year. And I think Charles Melton as Joe in this is genuinely one of the most empathetic, heartbreaking characters of the entire year, maybe the most, because what this guy has to go through and what his character has to go through, it is just unbelievable what he's had to endure his whole life, or what he hasn't been able to accomplish because of that. I mean, this guy is truly a victim in the most purest sense of the word, and you just feel absolutely horrible because nothing like this should ever happen to a kid. I mean, yet again, I think that goes without saying, but the fact that this film is willing to explore that dynamic is going to put some people off, but I think that's why this film is so effective, because it talks about it in a very honest way. I think the thing that's so brilliant about this film is how the film, very subtly conveys its characters. And you get many, many scenes where you get cued into these character dynamics in a very clear, but also, you might not pick up on it the first time. It doesn't spell it out for you, and that's what I love about this movie, because you really just sit back and think about all these scenes that took place, and you're like, oh, that was why that happened. This is how this character feels. And yeah, I just love movies that don't lay it out for you in the most obvious sense, and I think May December is absolutely one of those films. And yet again, it's the small character interactions, the things they say to each other, is what really makes this so effective. I also thought Corey Michael Smith was great as Gracie's oldest son in here. He's a live wire if I've ever seen one, and very unpredictable what happens when he comes on the screen, but he brings a lot of humor to the role, and also a lot of depth, because you can tell that this kid was clearly damaged by the situation that occurred, as is everyone in their lives. And you can clearly see the character dynamics in these scenes, but yet again, these characters don't come out and tell each other how they feel, but it's pretty evident in the way they interact with each other. But yeah, I mean, the cast is just absolutely phenomenal here. Yet again, I do think Charles Melton will be nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and I honestly think he should be one of the front runners to win. Out of the people I think will be nominated, I definitely think that he has a very, very good chance of getting in there, and especially considering how award season has gone so far. And yet again, I mean, this film explores many taboo ideas and topics with such an understanding and depth to every single one. I will admit, though, it wasn't until like the last 30 minutes of this movie where I was truly loving it. And so, yeah, I mean, that does factor into my score a little bit. But then again, I could watch this again and love it even more than I did previously, having all these set pieces in place and knowing what they lead to. It really is a very cathartic experience, I think, and definitely leaves you with a lot to think about, more than most movies this year, which is saying quite a lot. So I'm going to give May December an 8.5 out of 10. I definitely love this movie, and I definitely think it's one to check out for this year and for award seasons, because you're going to hear a lot of buzz about this if you haven't already. They've been campaigning the hell out of this movie, and yeah, I really can't wait to see what happens with this film next, especially with Charles Melton. I mean, this guy was like in a bunch of YA stuff like Riverdale and like all these movies that didn't really take off from a critical standpoint, but now you can see that people are truly embracing him as a serious actor, and I think that's really, really great to see. And yeah, so very excited to hear what you guys think of May December down in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, of course, if you want to see more reviews like this and you're joining in for the first time. Very, very excited to bring you guys more videos. Not sure exactly what the next video is going to be, but I may have some idea. So once you see that, you'll know what it is, as will I. And yeah, guys, until the next video, you have yourselves a good one and take it easy.